What's up, ladies and germinations? It's your pal Jammo back from the grave once again to talk about a movie. It's called The Killer, a cold clinical film by the master of cold and clinical films, Davidius Fincherton III. David Fincher is not only one of my personal favorite directors, he's also one of the best filmmakers from any era. I say this objectively, and if you deny this with your subjective humdrummery of negatory opinionization, I proclaim thou art a dingus. That's right, you heard me. Fincher has a superpower that few directors have. He can turn even the wackiest script into beautiful cinema. This has been exemplified a few times, like the conceptually hilarious Curious Case of Bradlington Button, and especially The Game starring Michael Douglas, which makes absolutely no sense if you think about it even a little bit, but still winds up being a pretty good movie based purely on how Fincher constructs scenes and his sense of atmosphere. He's got the skills to pay the bills, as the kids say, and turn dime store pulp into poetry. He's always been most at home, however, in the shadows, in the land of murderers and murky morality, and I've been looking forward to this film ever since it was announced. A Fincher flick with Fassbender fastidiously murderizing some mofos? Hell yeah, baby, sock it to me. The story is about a professional hitman and every small, laborious step he takes to bring down a target. It's a literal procedural, interspersed with the inner monologue of said hitman as he repeats his rules like a mantra. Be the gun. Have no empathy. Don't fart in an elevator or people will notice you. You know, that sort of thing. It all goes wrong though when he mucks up a killing and the powers that hired him reciprocate with retribution, visiting his home and sending his lady friend to the hospital. We then go back into procedural mode as Fassbender hunts down every single solitary human who had anything to do with this. Now I know what you're thinking, baby, and no, this is not John Wick. I haven't watched any other reviews, but I'm sure they're all saying the same thing, more or less, with varying degrees of annoyance, with inverse proportion to general intellect. That's a fancy college boy way of saying that idiots will be bored by this movie. There's only like one action scene in the whole flick. The rest is just the way a hitman goes about his job, down to every little detail. If you require a steady diet of gunshots and punching for a movie to be good, this is not the film for you. But if you like cinema, I think you might want to try it anyway because, well, it's just really damn good. I love movies that demythologize, that bring abstract ideas or idealizations down to earth. What I mean in this context is that modern cinema, and especially American cinema, loves the idea of the hitman. From John Wick to Tarantino, and even to some extent Goodfellas, there's a level of awe associated with killers. They're cinematically enshrined in a different light than the rest of us normies. And that stuff is fun, don't get me wrong, but The Killer is so fascinating because it demythologizes the hitman. It sucks out the glamour and mystique and leaves only the icy concrete reality, replete with lots and lots of waiting. He waits around so much. And while you might have thought this life looked cool when Travolta and Sam Jackson sat around a diner talking smack, I just kept thinking during this film, man, being a killer looks like a giant pain in the ass. It's also a film with a larger moral center than it lets on. I recommend paying close attention to Fassbender's inner mantras and how he acts in real life. Examine what he seems to value and how he might deviate from the seeming rigidity of that philosophy. The answers you find in this little borderland are the secret heart of the story. It should go without saying that the film is also beautiful on the technical side. Fincher is a notorious perfectionist, and it's always a joy to see how he constructs everything. Shots, scenes, score, the performances he draws from actors, and how it all meshes together. He's just one of the best filmmakers, and I imagine this is how someone who likes clocks feels when they see a really intricate watch built by a master craftsman. I don't know why I chose this analogy, but it fits. All told, it's a film that mostly is what it is. You get a sense for its pacing and tone straight away, and if you're not intrigued in the first 15 minutes, you probably won't like it. The plot is not complicated, the violence is sparse, and honestly, even I can admit that the ending feels a bit anticlimactic. You'd think he'd have to pull off a really intricate murder with a lot of moving parts or something, a clock analogy, but instead he just has a whiskey with the great Tilda Swinton. I'm not saying this is bad or even ill-fitting, it just lacked something. Maybe I'm just conditioned by movies though, and this is another purposeful facet of Fincher's Hitman anti-myth, but I still must admit I was left a little hungry in this regard. And that's The Killer. It's a great movie, worth watching for any patient viewer who appreciates filmmaking or thinks the premise sounds interesting. Basically, just give it a shot. You know what you're getting into now, so hopefully you won't be annoyed when it's not an action movie. And besides, we have plenty of those. This is something unique and interesting, and even if it's not in the league of Fincher's best work, it's definitely not a 7. It's a worthy addition to his catalog. Before I go, I also want to shout out a similar film you're probably not aware of, but Fincher certainly is. It's called Le Samurai from 1967 by Jean-Pierre Melville. It's a cold clinical examination of a hitman, played by the great Alain Delon, and it's a masterpiece. Take my word for it, you need to watch this movie. It's one of the best of all time. Thanks for watching. We still have Snowpiercer coming up, and I'm not sure what else right now. It might take some time. I'm dealing with horrible pain in my hands that doctors can't figure out, so sometimes I can't write or edit for long periods of time as much as I want to. So if you're ever wondering why there aren't more videos on this channel or why it's taking like a really long time, that's the reason. In any event, happy holidays to all of you, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully sometime soon.